Nope. You just walk out of the room. Okay. Dante screamed at the closet and walked out of the room. But Tom came into the room and opened the closet for a minute, and immediately Dante wanted to stick his nose in it. So here we are. Okay, so it's very hot. Like next week, it's going to be 100 to 102 every day this coming week. The squirrels were not out to play. We saw 2 blue jays and 1 woodpecker. And that's it. But we did see an interesting water bird. So, okay, so we're here to do the hidden power of the Bible. So let's do the housekeeping. All the housekeeping is me reminding you that we are Creative Life Spiritual Center. Website is creativelife.org. Constant contact email, info@creativelife.org. Each one email a week tells you what's going on for the week and the month, and the hot links are hot. So, click here now means it. It is also a blind CC. Nobody's going to see your email. You won't end up on anybody else's email list because of us. Now, what was I about to say? One email because a real person doing it. The only reason you would get more than one is if something unusual happens, i.e., we live on the Gulf Coast and it is hurricane season, and we just had Tropical Storm Bertha come through here. We got 45 minutes of rain. No big deal. So, but interestingly enough, both of the 2 named storms have come right across our nose, so I don't know what that means. Yeah. Okay. So, let me mention the social media, and I mention it merely from the standpoint of we do not monetize it. So, if you would go like, subscribe, and follow based on which platform you're on, and then engage with the individual post by reacting, commenting, and sharing, it bumps us in the algorithm. So a free and easy way that you can support the center is by getting our stuff in front of more people. So, there. All right. We are Creative Life Spiritual Center or Creative Life Spark, and I am the running Rev Ryan across the social medias that I am on. So, Hidden Power of the Bible used to be called The Bible in Light of Religious Science. I just love saying that title. Just cracks me up. This title does make a little bit more sense, but no, not really. They're both good titles. So, but I like to show it's not very big. So Ernest only chose what he thought were the most relevant. Okay? Not, because according to him, the entire library of the Bible is relevant. You can make anything relevant. But he chose what he thought was the most relevant, and I would also argue he chose his favorites. So, and it's one of the few times where he's actually citing the sources. Because he doesn't do that. But he also wrote in a time where there weren't, lots of books to read, and so pretty much everybody that could read the Bible did. So we read Matthew 9 yesterday, and so today we are going to tackle Jesus forgives a man and heals him, and God knows no evil. So, Jesus forgives a man and heals him. Now, some of the scribes who heard Jesus tell the sick man that his sins were forgiven said he blasphemed God in attempting to forgive sins. But Jesus, reading their thoughts and knowing what was in their mind, asked them if it were easier to forgive or to heal. In order to prove his position, he healed the man. Okay? This incident has to do with the great psychological law. If one labors under a great burden of past mistakes, they devitalize their body. And if the condemnation is great enough, it might render the body incapable of moving. Wait, did I just read that right? And if the condemnation is great enough, it might render the body incapable of moving. Okay. Jesus, seeing that the sick man was laboring under a load of condemnation, told him that his sins were forgiven. This removed the weight from the man's consciousness, making it possible for him to receive the healing word. Would Jesus have forgiven the man if he thought that God held anything against him? Certainly not. He knew that the eternal heart is one of love and that God forgives from the foundation of the universe. Indeed, he knew that the divine mind is too pure to behold evil and knows nothing about sin. Okay. So he's not going to deal with, and maybe he will later, Jesus reading people's minds. Because part of what Jesus was there to do was to upend the priesthood, what they were teaching, the way, or not what they were teaching. Yeah, maybe even what they were teaching, and how they were going about teaching it, because the scribes are part of the priestly class. So I don't know that he necessarily had to read their minds so much as he knew what they were thinking, and he did say, because I remember reading in Matthew, that the children of humanity can forgive sins. Like you can, and that's one of those things, in the Catholic Church, they have the sacrament of last rites. And normally, if you have the time, you call a priest to give last rites. And it's kind of that final confession forgiveness thing. Although the person doesn't have to confess, because frequently it's given when the person who is about to pass is unconscious. But it's kind of that final forgiveness. But in the Catholic Church, and I don't know about all the rest of the Christian sects, I don't know. But in the Catholic tradition, anyone can give last rites. So if you come upon a scene as a Catholic and there is not a priest in sight and somebody is, for, a terrible example, bleeding out on the sidewalk for whatever reason, or if somebody had a stroke and, and there's nothing you can do, you can't, if you can do CPR, do CPR. But if there's nothing you can do, the one thing you can do is give last rites. You can give them that forgiveness before they leave. And anybody can do it. Any Catholic. Well, I think in the Catholic tradition, you have to be a Catholic of good standing. But the point being, a layperson can do it. And I think that was one of the things that Jesus came to teach. Like, we tend to look to the priestly class for everything. And Jesus was saying, you know what? You don't have to. The priestly class has their purpose. They do have their purpose. But they're no more special than you are. They're no more special than you are. And I'm saying that with the REV in front of my name. I have a little more training. It doesn't mean that I do anything any better than anybody else does. I may do it more consciously and more confidently because, again, well trained. But the point being, I don't do it better. So I think that was the other thing when, so I get, and yeah, when you carry a heavy weight, it is hard. And so I get why Jesus prepared the man for healing by forgiving him. But I also think that what's really phenomenal about that is that Jesus turns to the scribes and says, look, anybody can do this. Anybody can offer forgiveness. So now it is up to the person to accept the forgiveness, though. So Ernest and I have, I'm totally on board with what Ernest is saying, but I think that there's another side to that story that he is not talking about in here, but he did include it in the lines that he read from Matthew. All right. God knows no evil. If God knew sin, God would be a sinner, for what the infinite mind knows must be. Sin or mistakes are outside the providence of reality. Jesus knew this. He also knew that while a person labors under the sense of condemnation, the burden of their thought weighs them to the dust. Being able to read thought, he knew just what steps to take in relieving the burden of this person's mind before telling him to arise and walk. Okay. We shall do well to remember this lesson. How often do we condemn when we should forgive? How often censure when we might praise? What untold grief of heart might be relieved by the words of cheer and forgiveness? And that's one of those things. What untold grief of heart might be relieved by the words of cheer and forgiveness? That's one of those reasons why that phrase is so common. Be kind, because you never know what somebody's dealing with. You don't know what's going on in somebody's life. So the least you can do is be kind. And it doesn't mean that you don't say hard things. You just say them kindly. There's no reason to say hard things harshly. There's no reason, there's just not. You just never know what's going on in somebody's life. So, be kind, because you can. And it may be, sometimes when you choose to be kind, that is the only kindness a person gets all day. I hate to think about it that way, but since I don't know, I try to choose kindness. Do I succeed 100% of the time? No. But when I fail, I forgive myself and do better next time. So, and, I'm always trying to nudge that needle closer to 100. All right. So, what untold grief of heart might be relieved by words of cheer of forgiveness, especially should this lesson be remembered in the training of children, for they so readily respond to the thoughts of others. And here's where I'm going to remind you, it takes 10 good things to wipe out one bad thing. So every negative thing that you have said to your child, it takes 10 good things to overcome that. We learn that in customer service. For every negative review, it takes 10 positive reviews to overcome that negative review. Or for every negative interaction, it takes 10 positive interactions to overcome that negative interaction. It's a thing. So keep that in mind. Remembering that the Spirit holds no evil towards any, and that God is love, we should emulate this divine lesson and forgive all, that our hearts may be free from the burden of our own condemnation. Now, I am all on board with forgiveness. Okay? Even people that you have a hard time forgiving. But forgiveness is your choice. It is always your choice. And I want to remind you one really important thing about forgiveness. Just because you forgive them does not mean you have to allow them access to you again. Okay? Forgiveness is not necessarily forgetting, and forgiveness does not mean that you let them back into your lives. So you can forgive people that have hurt you, but you don't ever have to let them back in. And you need to hear that when you are doing forgiveness work. And especially women need to hear that, because frequently we are pushed to forgive and pushed to allow people back into our lives. And that is a big fat no from me. Okay? That is a big fat no. If someone has hurt you and they have a pattern of hurting you, then you can forgive them. You don't have to, but you can forgive them, but you don't have to allow them access to yourself. And that, you need to know that. You need to know that. That's it. That's it. Okay? So, forgiveness is one of the best gifts that you can give yourself, but it doesn't mean you have to let him back in. Okay. All right. And that is a garden I will grow instead of a hill I will die on. That is a garden I will water. All right. So I'm trying to change that phrase because I like the garden that I will water better. So, and that's it. I think I'm going to stop there, and we will pick up tomorrow with new clothes, old garments. So, and take care. Now I'm going to encourage you to have a great day, a wondrous day, a fantastic day, a magical day, an enchanted day, a wonderful day, an awesome day, an amazing day. It is going to be very hot today, Drink plenty of water day to day. Stay out of the direct sunlight between like 10 and until the sun goes down, frankly. 6. I mean, the sun doesn't go down until 8:30, so you know what I mean. But, no, like, I get in my car at 6 o'clock at night, my car is still telling me it's 104 out there. No. Yeah. No. This hot house flower is staying indoors in the air conditioning. So, yeah. Okay. So drink plenty of water day, be aware of the heat day. I don't think we're going to get any rain. So, day. Do something just for yourself day. Make sure you take a break and sit down and rest day. Cuddle your fur babies day. Do what you got to do day. Take care of business day. I'm going to have a catter day. And I think I'm going to wrap this up because I'm out of words day. A good day. And if that is too much pressure, simply have a day. You are enough. Just as you are. You are a beloved expression of the divine. You are a brilliant light, divine spark, spirit in motion, God in action, an absolutely beautiful masterpiece, and a work in progress at the same time at your own pace. And, as Reverend Jesse likes to call us, you are a godling. So explore the truth of your being. Get to know who the divine knows you to be, because the divine knows you to be good. And from there, anything is possible. Because all the divine knows is good. And that is the good news. All right? All right, beloveds. And that's what we were talking about today in the book. You know, God doesn't see evil. God doesn't see sin. Yeah. So, all right. God doesn't know it, and that is the good news. So Reverend David will be on sometime this afternoon. I intend to be back around 3:30. I think we're on chapter 10 in Emma. Yep, we're on chapter 10, so we'll do chapter 10 today, which means I need to get this iPad charged. Around 3:30, I'll do that. Then David will be on in the afternoon, and then I'll be back with you tomorrow morning. So take care of yourself. Know that you are loved. Be very aware of the heat. And I will see you next time.